I said. What could possibly go wrong?
So yeah, after we see that creepy low-res smile, yep, this is Bubsy 3D for the PlayStation. Oh, well, I do not want to play this game again. But you know what? I found this game for £1.50 from Cash Converters, and I figured, you know what? I had this game back when I was a kid. May as well relive the awful memories, because, you know, I've got nothing better to do, so why not? But as you can see, I went to the options here for some reason. Yeah. My actions are always very irrational, so... Anyway, as you can see here, we've got 18 levels. There's probably more than this. I don't care, because I'm not going to bother playing for the whole game, because I'm not that masochistic. And, you know, Bubsy 3D, we all know Bubsy 3D. We all know how much Bubsy 3D sucks. And in fact, the Bubsy franchise in general, or what remnants there were of a franchise by this point. By which I mean 1997, because, well, that's when this game was released in Europe by... Okay, I just heard something there. No, that's not important. What is important is that this game was released in 1997 in Europe, at least. In the US, I believe this was released in Halloween 1996, which is kind of fitting when you consider how horrifying this game is. So if we walk to this question mark, eventually we'll get this help thing.
So, you wanna be a video game star? For starters, grab all the items you see. There's plenty of them in each level. And if you get enough of them, you'll be in for some surprises.
Okay, I know you can't see me, okay, as I commentate on this. Right now I'm cringing harder than the last time I saw a raid video, and believe me, that's saying a lot. And the reason for that is just, well, obvious. I mean, Bubsy's voice. Now, Bubsy always had a voice in the video games. I mean, the first game, he would say something between levels, and every time he died, for some reason. I don't know why the program did like that. But, you know, it was fine. I mean, you couldn't really understand what he was saying, but still. But in this game, he sounds like a chain smoker from, I don't know, Long Island, maybe? Well, actually, no, I think that's an insult to people from Long Island. This would be like... Yeah, actually listen to it again. It sounds more like... You know, I'm going to say right now, Gilbert Gottfried would have done a better job. Let's just say that much. Like, I would rather have the guy who played Iago in Aladdin do the voices on this. Yeah. Yeah, I would rather listen to that guy. And, you know, it almost sounds like... I'm trying to think of a suitable analogy, but I seriously can't think of an analogy for this guy's voice. I mean, I know I'm one to talk because my voice sucks, but, I mean, really. What is there to say in terms of just the voice acting? It's abysmal. Okay, it's irritating. They should have got someone else to do the voice acting. It's just plain simple as that. It's like, they told the guy who did this to try and be as irritating as possible, and, if that was the case, then mission accomplished, that's all I'll say. As you just heard that. But actually, you know, let's ignore the commentary, or the voice acting rather, because I've been talking too much about that. Let's talk about the biggest problem with this game, the controls. Because, you know, controls are kind of integral to, well, basically any video game. And if your game has terrible controls, then, yeah, your game is most likely going to suck. And this game is definitely an example of that. Because, well, the controls suck. Now, this game is tank controls, and you might argue, well, great. Yeah, like I was saying, you might argue that most games that were being released sort of in the early days of the PS1 had tank controls. So, I'm not going to berate the game for that. They haven't really aged that well, but, you know, it's understandable for the time, because there was no DualShock controllers out when this game was released. But this game is the worst case of tank controls I've ever seen. Like, seriously. Because Bubsy... I'm sorry, it's just... Yeah, so Bubsy has now become Captain Obvious. But as I was about to say, before I started cringing again, Bubsy has the turning circle of a lorry. Or worse yet, a fucking a fucking garbage truck. You know what I'm saying? It's abysmal. I mean, people complain about controls in like Tomb Raider and Resident Evil. I guarantee you those people have never played this game. Or, you know, they haven't played it in a long time. I mean, I played this game back in like 1997. And you know what? I stopped playing it after about 15 minutes. Because I was like, you know what? Sod this. I'm going to play Crash Bandicoot 2. Because that game's way better. And that's pretty sad, considering that I was 5 years old when I had this game. When a 5-year-old kid says that your game sucks and they want to go play someone else, you fail as a game developer. Okay, it's just that simple. You know, the people who made this game, and pretty much any terrible budget game publisher to come out in the past 10 years. I'm not saying all budget publishers are terrible, but all the ones who basically just made games as cheaply as possible and didn't care about the quality of them. You know, companies like Blast and Phoenix Games and... How was the other company? Days Are Interactive. Companies like that who just didn't care. I mean, I'm not sure if the people who made this game had the hearts in the right place, but I can tell right now their heads weren't. Otherwise they wanted to bother releasing this. But anyway, let's move on to... Well, I might as well move on to the sound, because, you know, I've talked about the voice acting, which is awful. But I will say the music is actually not too bad, and yeah, you also notice how terrible the controls are there. Like, there's no button to walk, I think, in this game. Or if there isn't, I can't figure it out. But anyway, onto the sound. The music is actually not that bad. It's forgettable, but yeah, if you listen to it, it sounds alright. It doesn't sound great, but it's, you know, it's decent at least. The sound effects are kind of annoying though, especially the one that sort of plays in time with the music. That is kind of annoying. And yeah, you tend to hear that a lot, because I think it activates whenever you're near an enemy. Which, yeah, it's very annoying indeed. And I haven't actually talked about the elephant in the room yet, which is the graphics. I mean... Now, actually, you know, I will say one good thing about the graphics. The actual character models, they actually look pretty decent. Because they at least look like how they did in the original game for the Mega Drive and Super Nintendo. You know, Bubsy 1. But, as you might have noticed, well, the environments... Well, let's just say the one past muster on the Super Nintendo, let alone the PlayStation. I mean, the PlayStation hasn't aged very well graphically. But seriously, you could do better than this. You could do way better than this. I mean, seriously, if you want a game that sort of shows off the PlayStation's graphical capability, go play like Gran Turismo 2, Colin McRae Rally 2.0, or, you know, Toy Story 2, or something like that. You know, because those games show off what the PlayStation was capable of, or even like the Spyro games or whatever. Those games all looked way better. And if you just want to talk about games that were out at the time this game was released, well, like I said, this game was released on Halloween 1996, if I remember correctly. And 2 months earlier, there was a certain game called Crash Bandicoot, which was released in the US. And that game looked way better than this. It also controlled way better, sounded a lot better, because you didn't have this terrible voice acting. You know, there was no excuse for this game to exist, because you already had much better platforms on PS1. I mean, like I said, Crash Bandicoot and like Jumping Flash was a lot better. Tomb Raider was around the corner, if you really want to call that a platformer. Like, if you really want to sort of put that in the same boat as, you know, Crash Bandicoot. But, you know, it's unacceptable that a game like this could be released on the PlayStation 1. I mean, because I can tell right now, I've seen NES games that looked better than this. And I mean 3D NES games. If you go and play Elite, which is a game for the NES, it was like the space combat game, I would actually say that game looked better. And considering that the hardware wasn't even designed to run 3D at all, that's just pathetic right there. I mean, look at this. I mean, they haven't even bothered to texture part of the ground. You know, it's like the textured some of it, and the rest of it is just purple blocks. I mean, it looks like a prototype. It's like they took an alpha version of a game and then decided, we're just going to release it. Like, this is like if you were to take Pac-Man on the Atari 2600 and put it on the PS1, you end up with this game. It's terrible. It really is. You know, and like I said, the character models look alright, but the animations are quite choppy, especially for like the enemies and like the projectiles that they fire. Yeah, it's really choppy, and it's especially noticeable when you get to like level 2 and you get these sort of electric enemies that just sort of jitter around the stage like the game is having a fit. It just, like I said, it looks terrible. It really does. And what else was I going to talk about? Oh yeah, the people who made this game, because no one really seems to talk about the people who made these games, apart from maybe Accolade, because, you know, Accolade, yeah. Well, you know, Accolade, they were kind of the people that started Bubsy in the first place, you know, they made the original games. And I think they survived until around about 2000. What's actually surprising, though, is they were actually involved in another game for the PS1 called Demolition Racer, which is one of my absolute favourite PS1 games. Absolutely love it. Because it's like Destruction Derby, but it's more arcadey. It's faster paced. That game is awesome. And here we have the only good part of the game, where you got the death animations. I'm going to say this right now, this is the only enjoyment I got out of this game, you know, recording this. Talking about the other companies behind this game, now, in the UK, or in fact Europe in general, this game is actually published by a company called Telstar, who, I think they mostly publish, like, music albums, I think. I don't know how the sort of dance album they had. Unless it was a different company that happened to have the similar name. I don't know. But they published a few compilations on the Mega Drive. In fact, one of them actually had Bubsy on it. The original one. Because it had Bubsy and it had Sonic 2. And I'll be honest with you, I'm actually surprised they were able to get Sonic 2 on one of those compilations. In fact, from what I remember, it was like, whoa. Okay, that doesn't look great. But yeah, like I was saying, I'm amazed they were able to get Sonic 2 on one of those compilations. Because it was like the only good game that was on them from what I remember. I don't know. Maybe there's some other good ones on there, but I've definitely played them. And as you can see, we're about to finish the first level right here. But they did publish a handful of other PS1 games, at least in Europe. Like Lone Soldier, which I'd never owned the game. But I've played the demo of it, and it wasn't very good. It's like a run and gun game, but it sucks. Like, the controls suck, and it just feels very sloppily made. I mean, if you look up Lone Soldier on YouTube, you'll see what I mean. And I do like this. Like, you have these cutscenes where they just show Bubsy getting, you're beaten up or whatever. Which he should have been, because he's a twat. But anyway. Talking about the people that made this game. The people who actually designed and, you know, developed the game. Eidetic. And you may be wondering who the hell Eidetic are. Now, Eidetic, for those who don't know, made 3 games, all of them for the PlayStation 1, because they made this game, obviously. And they also made a game called Siphon Filter, which you might have heard of. Yes, the same people that made Siphon Filter also made this game. In fact, they actually made the first 2 games. Yeah, how you could go from this game to Siphon Filter, I legitimately have no idea. I mean, I couldn't really say I was a big fan of Siphon Filter, but still, it's a huge step up from this. I don't know. Maybe they were just drugged while they were making this game, and then when it came time to make Siphon Filter, they were on the rehab. I don't know. I mean, you probably have to ask the people who work there. But yeah, I mean, it's sad to think that this was released in 1997. I mean, like, Super Mario 64 was out by this point. And, like I said, I've said this a couple of times before, but it bears repeating. This game had no reason to exist, because everyone hated Bubsy, and there's nothing that this game really has going for it, because the previous Bubsy game sucked, and this one looks terrible, the voice acting is terrible, the sound effects are annoying, as you can hear in the background, they're yeah, and the music, actually no, the music's not bad, but it's kind of forgettable, like I said, and the controls are just abysmal. And you know what? I've had enough of this game. Okay, it's been 15 minutes. I'm just going to end this with a little ending cutscene right here. So, I will see you later, people. See you